Nintendo Classic Mini. Now, if you see my pickups video, you know that I've actually got 2 of these, one of which I'm giving away, and you'll also know that I've waited 5 days to open this, where I had the time to actually open it on camera. Because I like to think that people are interested, even if you know, I look in 2 months' time and find that this video's only got 5 views. That's 5 people that were interested. So for you 5, I've waited a day for each of you to open this. So you know, do be happy with that. I'm not going to bother opening the controller, because what's going to be the point? It's a controller. It's got a wire attached to it. Big deal. I'm just going to get right into opening the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reposition the camera, and through skillful editing trickery, you won't even notice that I've done anything. Right, so here we are. Now, the box is a bit glossy. I'll try and stand in the way of the light, although that should be fine. I mean, it's a bit shadowy, but it's not. Where are we? There we are. I'll try not to get too much in the way. So let's take the tab off. Goodness me, stiff tab. Right, let's have a look here. So, what's in the box? What do you actually get? Now, bearing in mind, in your this is the UK version, so in whichever territory you're in, it might be slightly different, but the package is basically going to the same. We get a manual. We get the console itself, which is all nicely wrapped up here. Look, brilliant. Oh, it's actually a little bag. It's not just a wrapper, it's a little bag. Look at that. Isn't that brilliant? That's like a proper little Nintendo. Oh, yeah, look. Little ports on the back and things. It's the only thing that's missing is that sort of, you know, there's the line that goes across and the one that goes from here, and then that sort of brick thing that's in the middle. But yeah, from the front, ignore the controller ports, that looks like a Nintendo. Absolutely brilliant. Takes me back to when I was opening mine, the original one, obviously. Right, we've got a controller in here that's also lovingly wrapped up with these silly twist-stick things, although they're better than elastic bands. I'd much rather see electronics wrapped up with twist sticks than elastic bands, although I can still never get the bloody things up. There we go. Bit of blue plastic there, not for human consumption. Oh, and another twist stick. Well, anyway, I don't need to show you that, but this cable is really short. Even without unwrapping it, you can see that is really short. I'd say that's less than 3 foot. Given the amount of electronics I've unwrapped over the years, I'd say that's less than 3 foot, which is slightly annoying. I mean, I can understand why they've done it, because supposedly the menu button is actually on the console, so I suppose if you were sat too far away, you wouldn't be able to change the game particularly easily. And there's another bit under here, if I can manage to work out. There we go. And it actually comes with an HDMI lead and the USB cable to provide it with power. Now, see, I actually, although I haven't unboxed this because I wanted to actually do it on video, and that is literally all you get. I mean, that's it. That's the end of showing you. Now, the thing is, the reason for showing, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to box this back up, because I do want to keep it sort of semi-nice and neat. So I'm going to do that. And then again, through clever editing, you're not going to notice that. You're just going to see me back where I was sitting a minute ago. And yeah, such is the magic of tape. So I will see you in a minute when I'm finished boxing this back up. Right, and it's as if by magic that I'm sat here again, isn't it? No. The thing is, there are a lot of issues that I have with this, and some of them are sort of Nintendo's fault. In fact, most of them are sort of Nintendo's fault. The issue I have is with the short controller lead, but because I like to sit because I've got a reasonably sized television, I don't really want to sit sort of 5-6 foot away from it. I think it's probably not that bad for your eyes these days, because LCDs are nowhere near the sort of eye strain causing as CRTs used to be, when they were firing electrons through phosphor directly into your eyes. So they're probably nowhere near as bad for your eyes as television used to be. But I do like to still sit quite far away. So that's slightly annoying. The most annoying thing is that, I think I've mentioned in this video, I certainly mentioned in the last one, I've bought 2 of these. Now, my television is a modern television with a USB port on it, which will apparently provide, because it provides more than one, it provides 1 amp at least out to the USB. 5 volt, 1 amp is what this takes. That should power this console, so that I don't have to plug the USB into a separate plug to get it working. So it's not a problem for me, really, that this doesn't come with a power supply. But I don't know, put it. Nintendo has included an HDMI lead with this console, and for me, there's one thing I don't need another of is another fucking HDMI lead. I have tons of them. It's like in the early 2000s, like literally I could go to any drawer in the house and pull out a SCART lead. I can do that with HDMI leads now. There's just so many of them. I've got tons of them, all different lengths, sizes, platings, whatever. So instead, Nintendo, for God's sake, instead of including HDMI leads, include a plug. How difficult is it, honestly? Because not everyone has a super modern television with a USB connector. Maybe it does have a USB connector, just not a powered one. So everyone who buys this is then going to either have to have a plug. Because the argument is, and I've heard this argument, is like, well, why don't you just use the one that comes along with your phone? Well, number one, your phone might not be, the output might not be 1 amp, it might be more than 1 amp. Presumably the console is clever enough not to draw more than that if it doesn't need it, but you don't know. Also, my phone comes with the actual charger is fixed into the transformer. So it doesn't have a USB that unplugs. It's fixed. It's a fixed unit. So I can't use my phone charger to play the thing. So if I didn't have a USB power on my television, I would have to go and buy a plug. Now, it's not a major issue. It's going to cost me at retail, if I needed to do that, maybe £3 to £5. It's not an amazing issue, but the fact that I have to do it when they've obviously had a meeting at Nintendo and said we should give them an HDMI lead, they might not have one. Well, of course they've got one. But to turn around and go, and then they do the same thing with the DS. You go and buy a new DS, it doesn't have a plug, a 3DS rather. And in fact, I don't think that, I'm pretty sure they started that with the DSi. It doesn't come with a plug. I mean, what's going to happen when the Switch comes out? Is that not going to come with a plug? Are we is everyone going to have to pay, whatever the console retails at, presumably sort of £299 or whatever, is it then going to be another £15-20 for a plug? I mean, it's just stupid, Nintendo. Stop doing shit like this. It reminds me of growing up, when I grew up in the 1980s, you'd get like a train set for Christmas or something like that, and it wouldn't come with a plug on it. It just came with the brown and blue wires, and you had to find your own plug. and have the right type of fuse. So invariably what happened, Christmas Day, you know, the plug was missing off the video recorder, the plug was missing off the lamp that stood in the corner of the room, because the plugs have been frantically taken off stuff to get the train sets working, or the Skelectrics, or whatever the bloody hell it was. Thankfully that doesn't really happen anymore with electronics, apart from bloody Nintendo. Put a plug on the thing. It's not difficult. So that's obviously getting to me. The other thing about this, and I did mention it in the previous video, and I will mention it again, is that Nintendo thinks that their image is somehow helped by this sort of staggered release. Now, these are sold out everywhere currently. I mean, they're literally sold out everywhere. Everywhere you cannot get them. You cannot get them in Britain. You can't get them in Europe. You can't get them in the US. I don't know about Japan. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But are you seriously telling me that that's not down to Nintendo making enough of them? I guarantee you they have got storerooms full of these bloody things. But they think that staggering the release and making the supplies artificially short is somehow doing them good. And if any executives from Nintendo are watching, I know it's unlikely, but if any of you are watching, if Mario and Yoshi are sitting there round the boardroom, okay, and you're watching this video, stop doing this shit. It is not bringing you any kudos at all amongst people that want to buy your stuff. We don't want to have to wait 6 months for a console so we can get our hands on it. You did the same shit with a Wii, you did it with a DS, you did it with Amiibos, you do it with everything. Stop doing it. You're not seriously telling anyone that you don't have warehouses full of these bloody consoles ready to flood the market in 3 weeks' time because there's suddenly a demand which you created. I think, you know, it's just ridiculous. I mean, you wouldn't get that with other companies. I mean, Sony wouldn't do that. Microsoft wouldn't do that. It's only Nintendo that does that. You know, and I just don't understand why. I don't know what they get out of it. You know, presumably to say, oh well, you see, there's pre-orders stretching back for months. Well, you know, there's sort of not if you've artificially done that. But yeah, that's the point I want to make. Now, these are going for silly money on eBay at the moment. And because I bought 2 of them, you know, I could put the other one up on eBay and probably make maybe double what I paid for it. But I'm not willing to do that because A, that would make me an arsehole, and then it would mean that the person I'm giving it to as a present is going to lose out. Or at least for a couple of weeks is going to lose out. So I'm not willing to do that. But the only advice I would give to you, if you didn't get one on day of release, exactly the same advice as I gave with the Pokemon clicky, the Pokemon Go thing, which I got as well. Don't buy it off an eBay person. Don't spend the money. Don't let these people win. These people that bought up shitloads of these and have like 4 or 5, maybe half a dozen of them for sale on eBay at the moment. You know who they are. Don't fucking buy from them. Not for a second. Because if they get away with it with this, they'll get away with it with everything. And these people need to be stopped because they're not interested in having these things. They're interested in making money off you. That's the only thing they're interested in. They didn't get 6 of them as unwanted gifts. It's bullshit. Do not buy from them. I guarantee you these will be back in the shops before Christmas. There will be a surplus of them. You know, unless everyone from eBay who's got all their money back from selling the ones they bought originally are then able to sell more and corner the market once again. So don't buy from them. Don't give them the opportunity. That's all I'll say. If you really need to play some of these games, I literally, just out of interest, before doing this video, I did actually have a look online, and from one of the online forums, you can actually buy an original Nintendo with 2 controllers. And what did it have? It didn't have all of these, but it had Mario, it had Mario 2, it had Mario 3, it didn't have Zelda. What did it have? It had Zelda 2. It had Mega Man 2, which is on here, and then there was another game that was an odd one. It was like Chippendales or DuckTales or something like that. So 6 games, and that was £90 posted. So if you can have that as the original stuff for £90 posted, then don't spend 120 quid on one of these on eBay. Save your money, save it a couple of weeks, and go and buy one then, because I guarantee you they'll be back in store shelves. Nintendo does stupid things, but they are not stupid. They know people buy these things before Christmas, and the shops are going to be full of them. There's my tired rant on the console. Other than that, I'm very happy with this. Again, as I said, I haven't actually had a chance to try it, but I'm very happy that I now do, because I've done the unboxing, that bit's out of the way, and I can go and plug it in and play it till my heart's content, although I probably won't have the time for another couple of days yet. And in fact, although I'm recording this on the Tuesday, it might not even be uploaded till about Friday or Saturday, depending on when I can find time to do the editing, because my calendar is a bit full. So yeah, that's about it. I think hopefully the next set of videos are going to be more of the collect and avoid videos that I've been doing. So if you like them, then maybe I'll put an annotation here to the NES one, because presumably if you were interested in seeing this, you might be interested in the original NES. My thoughts on that. Oh dear, I seem to have a really dry throat tonight. So I'll put an annotation here so that you can click on that. So if I've said it before, and I'm going to say it every now and then, please do comment, like, subscribe, all the usual rubbish that goes along with this. You know, comments are for you. They're for you to have your say on what I've said. So it's more of less of a monologue from me and more of a dialogue between us, which is a much nicer way of doing things, really. And again, if you think I've got anything wrong, yada yada yada, then please do say anything. You know, keep it clean, keep it above the belt, keep it nice. That's all I'm saying. And you know, if you do that, then hopefully I'll be able to reply. I think that's about it. Yeah, I can't think of anything else I want to say about it. I'm looking forward to playing it. And again, I bought the second controller here, so I can play 2-player Bubble Bobble and actually maybe complete it, because that's the only way to do it, is 2-player. So yeah, to sum up, the controller leads are short. You might need a plug unless you've got a newer telly, but luckily the HDMI lead is there in the box, so you should have no problems there. Not that any of you ever would. That's about it. Other than that, it's a lovely little machine. It looks exactly, although it doesn't function the same, it looks exactly like an old Nintendo. One thing though, there are some funny inclusions on here. That's the last thing I wanted to say. What was the odd? There's a couple of odd ones I saw that I can't really find at the moment. Let me just read through it and see what. Gradius is a funny one. I mean, I'm not really a fan of Gradius, and I'm not really not a fan. I think I'm sort of like most people. I think I'm quite indifferent towards Gradius. As shooters go, it's okay. It's not fantastic, but surely you could have done better than Gradius. And there was another odd one, PacMan. I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, PacMan is obviously a seminal game. I mean, it's utterly iconic. Not on the Nintendo though. I mean, if you were to pick your top 30 arcade games, PacMan would probably be in there. If you were to pick your top 30 Nintendo games, I'm not sure. I mean, I know there's lots of stuff that certain licensing issues they couldn't do. I mean, for instance, DuckTales would have been fantastic on this, or even no, maybe not Chippendales Rescue Rangers. That's a bit boring. But something like that. But obviously that can't happen. That's a Disney property, and for, you know, how much would it actually cost Nintendo to license the game? But PacMan, really? You couldn't think of a better... Snake, Rattle and Roll. Oh no, it's a Rare game. Or something that isn't Disney and isn't Rare, because we know they've fallen out with Nintendo in the past. Actually, Snake, Rattle and Roll would have been brilliant on here. Now I think more of it. Yeah. If you do like a second version of this, get rid of PacMan and spend the extra penny per unit or whatever it would cost you to get Snake, Rattle and Roll, because if you've got 2 controllers, that is a brilliant game. But yeah, PacMan, it's just, when I think of Nintendo, it's not something I think about. PacMan. I mean, you know, and even something Nintendo first party would have been better than that. I'm not saying PacMan's a bad game. Don't get on me for saying it might be a bad game. It's not a bad game, but it's not Nintendo. When I think of the NES, I don't think of PacMan. Sorry, but I don't. All the rest of them are pretty alright. Ninja Gaiden, Donkey Kong, yeah, fair enough. Kirby, Castlevania, you know, no, all the rest of them are fine. But yeah, Gradius and PacMan. I just think you could do better. Oh, and Excitebike, that was the other one. No, this is the other one. I don't get on me. I can't stand Excitebike. I find it so dull. Nothing happens. I can't figure out what the progression's supposed to be. Honestly, it is like a game of... It's like a game of wits. It's like you've got to hold the button down, but don't hold it too long. And it's so irritating. Honestly, there are better button pushing motorcycle riding games on bloody mobile. In fact, there were better button pushing motorcycle games on LCD watches than Excitebike. I just can't stand it. Maybe that's just me. I know it's a Nintendo first party title. It probably had to be there really as some sort of historical value, because when, you know, it's one of the original black box titles, it probably should be there, arguably, but I just can't think of a worse way to spend 20 minutes than playing Excitebike. Other than that, you're getting well more than your money's worth. Anyway, it was supposed to be an unboxing, and I've rambled on about all the faults with it. Don't let that put you off. I'm probably the only person in the world that doesn't like Excitebike. Balloon Fight is amazing, by the way, if you've never played it. Play that 2 players. You will lose friends. Trust me. You will lose friends within the first 5 minutes of playing 2-player Balloon Fight. And I've just spotted Gallagher here. Same problem I have with that as PacMan. It's not a bad game, but it's not Nintendo. In fact, I associate Gallagher more with Tekken on the PlayStation than I would a Nintendo. Yeah, it's not for me to decide what's on it, obviously. I just will probably never, ever even bother to play them, the 4 that I've mentioned. So there's no point in them really being on my system. Where's Tetris? Come to think of it, if you want to put... So what could we put that in place of? Yeah, get rid of PacMan and have Tetris. Surely there can be nobody in the world that thinks Tetris and doesn't think Nintendo. Alright, maybe not the NES, but they certainly think Nintendo when they think Tetris. Where's Tetris? You know, I probably wouldn't play that either, but I'm just saying. Yeah. Definitely. Get rid of Gallagher or PacMan and throw in Tetris. I'm sure there are Namco fanboys that are ready to shoot me at the moment, but I don't care. I don't think... They don't conjure up Nintendo at all for me. Not in my mind. Yeah, Tetris would have been better. Right, no, I'm definitely done. I'm going to stop complaining. I'm going to let anyone who's watching this think about going and owning their own NES Classic Mini, and anyone who's watching it to waste a bit of time. Hopefully I've wasted your time enough now. So that's it, done. I will see you in the next video, where hopefully I'm slightly less down on something that I'm talking about. Although actually the next video is probably going to be one of the Generation 4 ones, so that is very likely that I'm really going to enjoy myself by talking about it, and probably be quite positive, because Generation 4 is one of my favourite generations. Probably my absolute favourite, if I'm honest with you, because that was when I was, you know, just proper sort of 10, 11, 12 moulded mind sort of generation. Anyway, see you in the next video. Leave comments, like, subscribe, blah 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 blah, whatever. You know the drill by now. See you next time.